Welcome to You Heard It From Us, the podcast where adventure meets advice. I'm DNDWife, your artistic storyteller and dedicated miniature painter.
And I'm Dungeon Master Eguile, your seasoned storyteller with a flair for epic tales and a passion for bringing our worlds to life. Together, we are a couple of nerds.
Whether you're navigating the depths of the dungeon or the dynamics of your gaming table, we're here to explore the vibrant world of tabletop role-playing games with you.
Each episode, we dive into topics that every gamer can relate to, like, is there really such thing as too many dice?
Or how to keep the peace when your co-adventurer is also your co-pilot in life.
We share our own trials, triumphs, and tales from the enchanting world of Extraeus and beyond, all while connecting with you, our amazing Ttrpg community.
From community polls to social media shoutouts, we want you to be part of our adventure. So grab your favorite set of dice
and join us as we embark on a quest to make your tabletop gaming experience more fun and meaningful.
This is You Heard It From Us,
where every episode is an adventure.
Welcome back, adventurers, to another exciting episode of You Heard It From Us. I'm DNDWife, your artist, storyteller, and guide through the world of TTRPGs.
And I'm Dungeon Master Eguile, your seasoned storyteller and master of the dice. We are so excited to have you all with us tonight.
Absolutely. Today we're diving into a fun and often overlooked topic. How do you down your ale or other beverage at the table?
But as always, before we get started, make sure to always hit that like button, leave us a review, and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss out on the adventures. Now let's get rolling.
Absolutely. Let's see what's up. I don't know about you, but I love the aspect of just coming together for D&D and drinking together, having a fun time, even if it's not alcoholic beverages.
Right.
It's just fun to share.
Right. I think it's kind of almost the like quintessential thing that's like related to D&D. A lot of like any kind of game night is the drink. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's your bag of Doritos and your Mountain Dew, and
Absolutely.
let's play D&D. So it really is that, and you find that as you get older, it's a little less, appropriate just to have like a 2-liter bottle you're drinking out of.
A little bit less appropriate.
So you find as you age, so do your tastes.
Right.
And so we've even seen like how our table has kind of evolved from going from just kind of everyone having like generic brand soda to now like we have our own signature mugs that kind of really kind of put that little class on there.
A little extra. So in this episode, we'll be sharing our personal experiences with drinks at the table and how they've impacted our games too.
We're also going to look at some of the drink holders that we've used and kind of some of the issues that we've had and kind of how we feel about it. We'll also look at as always, our amazing community and see what they think and how they've been polled on their personal preferences for their drink holders.
Absolutely. And finally, we'll discuss the pros and cons of different drink styles and how they can enhance or disrupt your gaming experience. So let's get into it.
Right. You wouldn't think it would be that important, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why we were
it's just a drink, right?
It's very obscure, but it actually does make a big difference. And really it comes, I think, more if you are a host.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're a dungeon
absolutely.
master or you're the person who sets up the table, I think you're more kind of aware of what kind of happens with drinks and drink preferences. And it goes from everything. You got people who drink, ales, sparkling sodas. Our table loves the ciders and stuff like that. But all the way to just soda or just water, right? But no matter what, it's all liquid and it all has its own kind of issues you have to deal with.
Yeah, a little bit. And they can all get the terrible condensation problems as well. Drinks are such a big part of our ambiance. They add to our atmosphere. And to me, at least, they just make the gaming experience a little more enjoyable to all share that commonality with each other. But they can also bring really big challenges, like I said, especially when it comes to spills and the condensation problem is a really big deal.
Right. I mean, like, it is that kind of like you always have to have it too, because I mean, especially like as a DM, right? Like, I can't talk for 8 hours without like having something to drink.
Yeah.
So it is that like trade-off of what you have to do, but then it's like it's something you're not aware of. Like I know you've had issues with it.
I've had problems before. I remember a particular session where I had a can of soda next to my notes, and the game was going great. We were all super into it, and I was so into the story and what we were doing. I think we were having a battle too. So at the time, it was just all about like making sure that we were paying attention. But I didn't notice that the condensation on my drink, on my can of soda, was just pooling and spreading like everywhere.
Yeah, I know, because it's like, especially like us, we're always in a small apartment, and when you get like 5, 6 medium-sized bodies in a building, it starts getting hot. So like we're always wanting something cold, but that's kind of like the catch-22. Like you want like this almost ice cold beverage, but then obviously we have papers and little arts and crafts and knicknacks everywhere, and then you realize it too late.
Yeah, a little bit. It can be very risky. I especially remember it just we just had like a very small table space when we were playing, and so it made it extremely difficult to spread your things out. So the can of soda was like right next to not just my notes but other people's notes too.
Oh yeah, and I mean I always remember too. It's like we have a particular table guest that had started to become kind of the running joke because they were always the person to knock over their drink. Yeah. Really, no matter what they were drinking, it could be a tall Monster, it could be a little Pepsi can, but they just, without a doubt, once per session, that soda was going to get knocked off some way or another.
And sometimes it wasn't even their drink they knocked over. It could be somebody else's drink they knocked over.
Right? And so then it becomes that whole thing of like, oh goodness, what are they, is it a sticky drink? Is it soda or is it water? Right? Is it alcohol? Like, so then you have all these things if it spills on your mini, or I remember, I think you spilled in your dice box.
Oh, it was the worst because it had felt in it.
And it was a cider, and it just kind of smelled like cider for a good couple of months before it finally dried out. But it's like, you kind of have to, because really, getting those drinks are so important to us. And so, we saw it, and kind of after probably like the 20th or 30th drink that is full, we kind of had enough, and we knew we had to upgrade.
It became an issue so much because of the limited space that we had to get different drink holders. It was such a problem.
Right. And so, I kind of started looking out and trying to find solutions for a table, and I started kind of looking, I think originally at coasters. Yeah. Right. And it was like, hey, maybe we'll just put coasters.
Right. That'll keep everything.
But the thought was, but that doesn't stop getting them knocked over.
Right. Or if the condensation's too much, it'll just spill over the coaster anyway.
Right. And so while I was doing that, it seems like, and this is where we kind of see the importance. It seems like I wasn't the only one also seeing it as being a problem.
Other people were seeing it too, especially at our table. One of our players actually gifted everyone these awesome looking 3D printed mugs that they had gotten off of an Etsy store somewhere.
They were unpainted, but they were cool.
They were awesome. But these mugs were designed to hold like a basic 20-ounce can in it.
Right.
It wasn't that crazy.
Monster, but it would like stick out a little bit above the top,
so it wasn't
it wasn't a deep enough recess.
But the 20-ounce cans fit perfectly in there. And if you wanted to just drink without having the can in there, it did come with this like special plastic food grade safe little insert.
I remember
that you could drink out of. You just stuck it in there and poured your drink in there. So it was cool. And we might feature these on a future episode of Comic Cave.
Yeah, I mean, they were like such a thoughtful gift, because also the player made sure during the time that they were all themed to the current characters, which was great.
And I ended up painting them for everyone.
The Cornucopia one was one of my favorites, which
I loved
hopefully
that
we'll show
one.
more later.
Absolutely.
But it was that thing where it not only looked amazing, but it did kind of start solving a little bit of the problems, because it did create for like the monsters this like solid base.
Yeah, it really did.
But we did notice that it was great, but it still had all those extra steps, right? Because of the nature of it being a 3D printed, and so it wasn't necessarily food safe.
Well, it took time too for me to paint them all and get them all situated, and we had to seal them too so that they could be food safe.
Grade. And so, but then by that point, and then the biggest notice that we had to make sure, and it's kind of that funny thing, is that they didn't hold a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't that big.
And I think that's like the other half of the equation. Yeah. I'm that kind of person.
I don't want to get up 20 times in a day.
Right? I'm that kind of. I know there's people that are like, there's small glass, there's the medium glass, and there's I want like the biggest thing I can get besides a pitcher.
The big gulp is our friend here.
So that way I can just fill it up, hopefully with enough ice, and then I just have it. I don't have to keep going up and down. And so we saw that even though these custom mugs looked amazing, and then it got to a point where you didn't want them to get damaged.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough. So you kind of found yourself like either getting up and down, getting up and down, getting up and down.
Constantly.
And you're starting to now get pulled out of the experience.
Yeah, and it causes a disruption for the table too. You know, constantly getting up can pull someone out if we're, say, in a combat or just not in a tavern. Like, so a chair just moving across, like, while we're traveling across open space just seems strange.
But man, it brings so much to the table. It brings so much.
I love seeing the creative aspect of the mugs at the table. They get me into like the role playing mindset, especially because a lot of them were themed specifically to the campaign.
Yeah,
it really helped get us into it. It looked like it belonged in a fantasy tavern. Like these were special mugs that we got at some magical tavern where they're all like personalized because they're magic.
Yeah, and I think it really started too, and it was amazing how simple it was because there was actually really one of our players that kind of started off. They had this kind of like skull mug. It wasn't necessarily catered to their character.
Not really. It was just their aesthetic. They loved it.
Yeah, it was kind of fitting their aesthetic, and so kind of represented them at the table. Yeah. And I think that's really what started.
I put it with us in our head that we it was like probably get mugs too.
And it was cool because it is this kind of duality facet too, because you can bring ones that represent you as a player personally. Yeah. And you can also bring ones that represent your character.
Yeah.
I think probably like really nowadays, I think it's been put more in the forefront too. And I just kind of popped in my head. I always think of like Sam Riegel.
Oh yeah.
Right. And his
all the iterations.
How much more was brought to his characters off of the mug itself. Not the act of drinking or whatever, but all these crazy mugs that he actually
the different ones.
Yeah. And so if you're, say, like a person out there who's not the most comfortable role player, bringing a mug can totally change that up.
Just like the biggest one that I liked about Sam was that for Not, he got the huge flask because it looked bigger because he was a goblin. He was playing a goblin. So it was just like, oh, it looks so good because it looks like the size that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's amazing just how like something as simple as the thing you drink out of really can change that up.
Oh, yeah.
And so with all that in mind, when we came to our third season, when we were like, okay, our third campaign, excuse me, we were like, okay, I really want to make this one special. I really want to kind of go over the top and take all that we learned. And so I decided to get glass mugs, like pint glass
really
mugs.
Big ones,
large Stein styles.
With really thick bottom bases.
Yeah, very, very bottom heavy, so they don't fall over very easily.
Yep.
And the cool thing was there's a D20 that's been kind of molded and inlaid in them.
It's
and on each of them, I have etched on them the player's name and the campaign and the date we started.
It's so lovely.
I think, right, and, you know, it's a really cool kind of avenue with, you know, it kind of combines that whole aspect.
It's part of the immersion of the table, but it's still representative of just us as a team, you know? And I just want to put out there, those mugs are from benshot.com. They're fantastic. They didn't pay us to say this. No. We just bought them we love them.
We wish, because they have so many cool things. Anything
really
from
well
like
done.
Bullets that are inlaid, different types of calibers, to more D&D and dungeon craft stuff. It's really cool, and they were really cool on etching, and really I think went further and kind of gave us some credence on how big, because putting in some characters' names are very large,
right?
And so they really kind of went the distance to make sure all that information got etched.
And it looks really nice, and not just beautiful, but really like professional, sleek, and nice.
And if you want to check those out, be sure to check out our Discord, where we will probably be posting some photos of that,
post some photos.
kind of to show you can kind of see what they are. But really, they're sturdy, they're stylish, and they're practical. And see,
absolutely.
to me, that's the important thing. And they're not necessarily catered to the individual characters
or the campaign per se,
right? Because these were the mugs we started this story with, and that's why they're clear glass. And I thought that kind of created a nice symbolism, as there's a potential for them
to be filled at a later time, or over time.
To be the DM, you know, always trying to look at a way to really kind of help my players really get into that moment.
It's really nice. It also serves as like a commemoration of what we've achieved, because it has I think the start date or something on there.
Oh yeah.
So it gives us this timeline, and eventually when we finish the campaign, we all get to take those mugs with us.
Right. And I think that's been a big thing for all our campaigns. We always love like the little things that can be like taken after the campaign, you know, and yet something that's like been there the whole time. It's one thing when you get the trophy at the end of the, you know,
it's cool, it's great.
But like the worn glove that's seen every bit of, you know, at contest, it's just something to it.
It's just like a battle trophy, something that you've taken from your adventures, your experience.
And I'm really looking forward to, you know, to see what'll happen as we go on, and when players maybe will get a mug that maybe more fits their new character. And so we might see some new mugs as we go on, and that's the fun of it, right? Like, it's another level for you to kind of have this customization to your character and you as a player.
Oh, yeah. And by no means does that mean you can't get your own personalized mugs too, or that it's also like the DM has to get everyone mugs either. This is like really however you feel. We got these for our table because we just love bringing like everyone together over food and drink, and that's specific for us. They're having these custom mugs really helps enhance the overall just vibe that we have at the table. It's not just a community vibe, but it brings us together as a team, as the party that we're supposed to be. It makes us feel more cohesive and special.
Right. I think it's those little touches that really kind of make it more memorable, because it's like that idea of like, we watch in fantasy, and they always, every fantasy show on earth, there's always the tavern scene where they get together, it's like, the hobbits meeting Aragorn, and it's always like over a pint of ale, and it's, the clanking of the mugs, and it's that camaraderie. And why wouldn't you want to have that at your table?
Right.
And so you might just think, let's just get some red Solo cups, and that works for parties and beer pong and all that fun stuff. But in reality, there's so much more that it goes into for like, just a cup.
And it changes as, a red Solo cup can only bring you so far into the table, but a glass mug can really become anything.
Right. And so, we obviously, as always, we like to reach out to the Couple of Nerds community and kind of ask. So we always put on our Discord and our YouTube, and we kind of see what exactly kind of our fans and our listeners think. And so recently we asked them this question is, how do you down your ale or other beverage at the table? Now, obviously, people don't always drink alcohols, and that's if you're 21 and over, perfectly fine. But if it's just water, soda, how do you prefer to consume that? And the results were kind of interesting. Yeah,
the responses were split. It either was in favor of just drinking it out of the can it came in because convenience, right? Why would you need to sully something new so that you can drink what's already in a can?
Yeah.
And then the other sort of vote was for using a custom mug or cup. Surprisingly, no one voted for using a regular glass.
I don't know if that plays into the whole like people, it's like do you drink the milk out of the carton or do you get a glass kind of person? But then it's like, well, I don't want to dirty a glass.
Why?
Right. So I think that kind of plays into it, but I also think it's kind of that split. And I think it shows that as most D&D players, we kind of prefer our extremes.
It really does.
It's really one or the other.
If I'm not going to be able to get it in this amazing custom mug, then I'll just drink it out of the can.
And I think there's even more that comes from that too, especially nowadays. Like, right, obviously, if you're just drinking Sam Cola, don't get me wrong, Sam's Cola is awesome, but it's just in a cup. But as one of our players, he has a knack for finding all these novelty drinks and like crazy different labels. And, and we've also found certain kind of alcoholic beverages at Bevmo that would have special labels themings, that we would sometimes link to the campaign.
We found like a dragon ale that we had at the table.
So sometimes the can or whatever you happen to be buying kind of fits itself. It has its own theme. So I can see why someone could say, well, if I have this like really cool label can, Dragon's Milk Ale, and it's like I'm cracking into that. I don't need a mug. Why would I ruin it? Now it just looks like milky beer. So obviously you want to keep it in the can,
or in the glass it came in.
But of course you always, I always love you role players. You are the bread and butter for DMs. So I know that there is something where if you're holding that mug and that stein, you just suddenly your accent just comes through that much harder.
Absolutely, it is just very clear that a regular glass just does not cut it for most players. If it's going to be something, it better be the most awesomest mug that you could ever hold your drink in.
Yeah, right. I think it's just like if you just kind of went and just grabbed a regular glass, it's just like, I don't know.
It's just a glass.
It breaks you out of reality.
Yeah, it's okay.
The fantasy's gone. You're like, oh, I got to put that in the dishwasher after this now. Like, I don't even get 5 cents from it when I throw it away.
It just seems that the players really want just to add to their experience and reflect their personality too at the table.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was kind of fun. I thought there would be a few votes for the maybe, I like my own cup or something.
Right.
But it was just kind of funny to see across both platforms where it was like, yeah, no, we're good.
It's either one or the other. I'm not going in between.
And as always, if you have any questions that you'd like to have us answer and go into, or if you yourself want to take place in any of the polls,
absolutely,
please join us on our YouTube page, Couple of Nerds Productions. Productions or our Discord at the Couple of Nerds podcast.
Yep.
Anywhere there, you can join us, join the conversation, and ask us really anything. We are open books.
Yeah, not only do we ask questions, but you can ask questions of our own, or of your own. And we have also players on there, other DMs on there, and you have such a plethora of people that you have that it can give you just information or that you can just talk to.
Right. And I know it seems weird, and sometimes we get into some really weird topics, but, we feel like it's the weird, small topics that sometimes are, the most important.
Yeah.
And they really come down to those debates, and it really comes to, there are a lot of pros and cons to your drink style. And you might think, why are you guys talking about this? This seems kind of dumb. But it's there actually is a lot of point to picking the right drink in the right container.
Using the can your drink comes in is convenient. It's super straightforward. You don't have to worry about it, but it can be more prone to spillage. We've seen that at our table. It's a problem. I've seen the players spill their drinks multiple times because of this.
And I know there's always that belief too, where it's that really only happens when it's empty. No, it doesn't.
No.
We've had full tall
Completely
can
full.
monsters pull all over my new maps.
Oh yeah, I've done it.
It's
I've
heartbreaking.
Spilled.
It hurts.
It
hurts so
sad.
much.
And you just have to redo everything, rewrite all of the journals or the character sheet that you just destroyed.
While you try to rush and pick up the little tsunami that's infecting your player, your minis. But then on the other hand, obviously custom mugs, anytime I guess you use the dreaded C word, custom right? in the D&D world, it's going to probably start costing a lot.
Yeah.
And that's tough because, D&D is such an accessible thing in its core, right? You just need a piece of paper. Hell, you just need some friends.
Right.
But when it comes to when you start really digging in and wanting to enjoy D&D, that's
or just make it more immersive.
Right, that's when the bills start racking up a little. So
bit.
You have to kind of see what you're looking for if you're willing to make that investment for yourself. And especially if it's something where if you're in a space that's a lot tighter, right? If you're on a small coffee table and things like coffee or cans falling over is something that happens a lot.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's worth a couple of sessions not buying a 6-pack of your favorite drink and just buying something generic, and then when your mug comes in, you're back on track.
There you go, right? Because having a bunch of cans or regular cups on the table can also just clutter up the space.
Oh man,
it can make it super difficult to move things around the table. Special mugs help save that space, help keep things organized. That way you don't have a bunch of things piling up and it just creates a more visually appealing setup too, I think.
Right. It kind of reminds me a lot of there's an old Family Guy, I think it's in the couple early seasons where they get busted DUI. Terrible. Don't ever do that.
Don't do
Horrible thing.
Bad.
But there's the thing where Peter goes to slide over and it's I'm cool, and he's moving over and you can hear all the cans moving in the car, right? He's meaning that the cans
falling cans, it's just
and the
too
car
many.
is full of cans.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear sometimes when we get so many cans at the table and then somebody accidentally bumps the table, it just sounds like all these cans rustling over, falling over.
And it creates this domino effect too.
But I will say, as an avid person who hosts parties and has these kind of group events too, there is a bonus in cans.
Yeah,
in that sometimes if you collect them and if your state recycles, you can kind of save those up and add them to a little kitty fund to
for your get-togethers,
to fund your sessions and stuff like that. But we talk a lot about how the cans are bad, but the other thing, and we've talked about this a little bit about the customs, is that you have to make sure they're food grade.
Yeah,
and I'm being very adamant about this, in that as a professional cook, you need to understand that not everything can have your drink in it, even if it's solid or painted.
Just because it looks like a cup doesn't mean it's okay for you to drink out of. It has to be food grade safe, otherwise you could really hurt yourself.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of ones out there that are great, but just, obviously know what you're getting into, because you could buy a really great mug and your intention was to fill it with your favorite drink, but you might not know that you're actually imbibing something carcinogenic, and you never want to take that real life saving role. I don't want to make those kind of checks in real life,
right? Especially if, like me, you're painting mugs and you're sealing them for use. You want to make sure that sealant is also food grade.
Yeah, and there are a few out there. They're a little more costly, and that's usually the first sign that I do. If you see a sealing type of spray paint, but it's the least expensive, and there's
probably
something else, it might not be exactly food grade.
Right.
Online, Amazon, usually the best place to check those out. Also, there's a lot of shops out there now doing really nice custom glass work. Benshot.com is a great site. They have tons, and it's everything from pint glasses, mugs to shot glasses. So you can really get kind of a variety
whatever
of
is your
glass,
fancy. Yeah.
Right. And so it's really kind of that nice step. And what I say is, if it's something important to your crew, just everyone pitch in $5 every session. After a couple of sessions, you'll have
be able
plenty
to get one for everyone.
Nice kind of set of kind of mugs for the whole team. And really, the weight, the look, the feel, and the clank is really what you're looking for. Sure, a can sounds all right, but there's nothing like a hearty mug clanking against each other.
Also, a can just doesn't do the good job of like bringing everyone together as a team like matching mugs do,
Yeah, and like you said, D&D, especially like us, like we're in a small space is so important.
So important.
And so when you're trying to navigate multiple cans, I mean, we have one player who likes to have her multiple cups already.
Everywhere, yeah.
So if we have that plus cans aplenty, plus everyone else's mug, plus it would be to where you guys wouldn't have any space for to roll your dice.
At all, yeah.
But honestly, no matter what you drink, beverages add to the TTRPG experience.
Absolutely.
They it's like, I think the same thing like running a restaurant. A patron who drinks something stays longer, enjoys their experience, right? So you really want to make sure it's another level to your experience of D&D.
Yeah, a little more enjoyable. But thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure that you like, review, and subscribe the podcast. Your support means the world to us.
Obviously, always join our Discord community and share your thoughts and continue our conversation. We love to hear more about your own drink stories and setups. Did you happen to have somebody who was kind of what we call the spillaholic and seems that no matter what they do, they're destined to Godzilla every can they can find?
Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And then check out our new website for all the links to your favorite podcast platforms for this show. It's going to be at shows.acast.com/you heard it from us with slashes in between you heard it from us.
Yeah, and that's just our new website that we're trying to put out there, so hopefully everyone can see whatever your favorite podcasting platform, you'll find it there. But until next time, keep your drinks steady and keep your dice ever rolling.
Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to You Heard It From Us.
We hope you enjoyed the adventure and picked up a few tips for your own gaming table. But the journey doesn't end here.
We'd love to hear from you. Join our Couple of Nerds Discord community where you can share your thoughts, ask questions, and suggest topics for future episodes. Whether you're a seasoned player or just starting out, there's a spot for everyone at our table.
To keep up with all our latest adventures and episodes, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep the magic alive and connects us with even more amazing listeners like you.
And remember, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Just search for You Heard It From Us and hit that subscribe button.
We can't wait to see you on Discord and hear your stories. Together, we can make the world of tabletop gaming even more magical.
Until next time, keep rolling those dice.
And may your adventures be legendary.